So, lads, today's game against the Wings was a bad one. A bad loss. Pissed at Stephanie White. I'm pissed at the referees. It was just a bad loss. It was a bad loss. However, today we're going to be talking about two of the really weird calls the referees made at the end of the game. So if you look in the fourth quarter here, the Fever went on a big run, and they're right back in this game. So Natasha hits a shot. It's 78, 81. Lexi Hall, by the way, 1:23 to go. She doesn't take a layup, which is extremely annoying. And commits an offensive foul. Paige Bueckers misses a shot. Am I at the right spot? No, I'm at the wrong spot. Where's the Leroux shot? Here. This shot right here. So Kelsey Mitchell gets makes 2 of 3 free throws. And by the way, that should have been called a flagrant if the Paige Bueckers one at the start of the game was a flagrant. So Paige Bueckers, early on in the game, she took a 3-point shot. Sophie Cunningham was on the side of her, and Paige Bueckers literally just kicked out her leg at Sophie Cunningham and landed on her foot. With the Grace Berger one with Kelsey Mitchell landed and Grace Berger stood on her foot. Or it was like minimal contact and Grace Berger stood on her foot and Kelsey Mitchell went down. Same severity. If one's a flagrant, the other's a flagrant. I don't think either of them were flagrant. I wouldn't even have minded if neither of them were called as fouls. I wouldn't have hated if neither of them were called as fouls. But the thing is that if one's a flagrant, they're both flagrants. It is what it is. If one's a flagrant, they're both flagrants. And then this happened. And this, by the way, some of these calls were egregious. These are calls late in the fourth quarter. Paige Bueckers I'm going to talk a lot about Paige's whistle in another video. This is early in the fourth quarter. Paige just shoves Sophie Cunningham, and it's a foul on Sophie. And then this, by the way, is up there with the worst calls I think I've ever seen in basketball. You can just see right here, Sophie and Paige. Sophie has her arms out. Sophie doesn't have her arms on Paige, and Paige just shoves her. And it's called as a foul on Sophie. But then this is, in my opinion, one of the most egregious calls I've ever seen in basketball. This is one of the ones where I'm like, I don't know what Aaliyah Boston's meant to do. So look here. So Aaliyah Boston currently has her right arm being put in a hold by Leroux. So Leroux, all I'm gonna say is that this is democracy manifest. I see Lee knows her judo. So Leroux has 2 hands on Aaliyah Boston's right arm. She then still has Aaliyah Boston's right arm hooked. She's looking for it. Aaliyah can't do anything with her right arm. It's being hooked by Leroux. Leroux turns. You can see, look at Aaliyah's shoulder. Her shoulders is what it is. The ball's there being passed in. And Leroux, I kid you not, on this move. So as the ball's being passed in, Leroux still has her arm hooked. Looks like she's trying to yank Aaliyah Boston's arm out of her shoulder socket. The referee calls a foul early. Basically, the referee calls a foul because Leroux tries to yank Aaliyah Boston's arm out of her shoulder socket. She tries to dislocate Aaliyah Boston's shoulder, and it is called as an and one. And they went to the monitor, and they're literally this is an obvious offensive foul. Rebecca Lobo and Ryan Rocourt were just yeah, this is an obvious offensive foul. It's obviously an offensive foul. It's fine. They just made the assumption. They just made the assumption that it was going to be a foul. I was just yeah, cool, we get the ball back. And by the way, they not only, and they were they're able to do multiple things. They could have given it as an offensive foul, or if they didn't think it was an offensive foul, they could have said that it was a foul before the shot, because it was clear the referee blew the whistle way before any of the continuation. Way before any of that, the referee blew the whistle. And they decided, you know what, it's still an and one. They decided it was still an and one. Which was crazy. Which was absolutely crazy. She got an and one. And Leroux committed multiple offensive fouls in that play. Multiple. It's not just one. She committed multiple offensive fouls. And the referee was just like, nah. Like, we don't care. We don't care. You're losing this game. You're losing this game. And if he were still had a chance to win, Stephanie White threw it away. Stephanie White, like, I don't like Stephanie White. I just don't like Stephanie White. I can guarantee you this was meant to be some sort of learning experience. I just hate her so much. I hate the fact that she's our team's coach. I genuinely, I don't think Stephanie White's a bad coach, and I'm not going to be out here talking negative on Stephanie White's actual coaching ability. I just hate the fact she is our coach. I think she deserves to be a WNBA coach. I think she's a terrible decision maker. She's terrible. She's a negative basketball coach. She's a what you call it. I think she plays puke ball. I think she plays slow. I think she plays boring basketball. I think she often gives players too much of a leash when she shouldn't. Gives players she should give more of a leash to. None of it. She doesn't seem to believe in the hot hand. In fact, she seems to do the opposite of the hot hand, where if a player makes a couple of shots, she pulls them. But this isn't a Stephanie White video. It's a video about the referees. And that call in Aaliyah Boston was just egregious. Like, that is one of the worst calls I've seen in basketball. That is one of the worst calls I've seen. I don't understand. I don't understand how the referees could call that as a foul on Aaliyah Boston. I just don't. I don't understand how they can do that. And it's one thing calling it in the moment, because if you call it in the moment, it is what it is. I don't understand how you can go to the monitor and double down on your call. I don't understand how you can do that. So anyway, yeah. Like, it is what it is. It is what it is. Bad refereeing is a thing in this league. It's not going to change.